Okay, yeah. We do have footage. Uh, um, so this is going to be a little bit interesting. We're going to be showing, one of the big things about Forza has always been about our incredible technical and visual fidelity that we've always brought with every game. And so everything that we've released and everything that we've shown has always been really well polished, and even the tiniest bugs and issues we hem and haw over, and of course the community is like, oh my god, look at it, looks so bad because of this and that. Um, this is the first time that we're knowingly going to show something that was never really meant for public consumption. It's really for us to understand, okay, here's how these systems work. But I think it's a really good visual to help everyone understand just the major changes that we've made in the tire model. So to reiterate, we went from a single point of contact to 8 points of contact in the new game. We went from a 60 hertz tire model refresh rate to a 360 hertz refresh rate. So, and like I said, that makes 48 times the fidelity per tire, of which everyone loves to meme. But that's the math, and that's how it works. And everyone's like, that's great, but we need to see more. We need to see how it looks. We need to see how it feels. So obviously, when you get the game, you'll feel it and you'll understand the differences. But this is, I think, some of the best ways to show it. We're going to show how the single point of contact at 60 hertz used to work. And we'll be looking at a variety of video that kind of shows that. And the tires will be invisible, and you can kind of see the collision for the tires, and then you'll see how it responds to different things like curves and different geometry changes in the track. And then we'll compare that to the new model, and I think you'll see a major difference there. And it'll just kind of give you an idea of the core technology behind it, and just how much that's improved. So yeah, let's take a look at this this video, and I'll walk you through some of the finer points. So I think we're starting here with once again our single point of contact at 60 hertz, and you can see that the tire is kind of quickly and not smoothly going over this very smooth curve. It basically is updating really roughly, and it has these kind of spikes and jumps. As you can see that it kind of popped up real quick, popping down as well. So, and this is really low speed, right? This is just a tire at low speed going over a very, very smooth surface. And you can just see just how much it's popping up and down here. So these spikes in the physics from the previous generation, those translated directly to, at speed, really, really extreme suspension changes and changes in car dynamics. So what that means is the faster you're going, the faster you're going, the more extreme these spiky reactions are. You can see here, even just these small sawtooth curves causing the tire to really react rapidly and change quickly. And what that just means is in the older system, what you're going to have is a lot more of the suspension reacting violently and causing the car to be really, really upset. And I think some players who are they are able to drive at speed, what would sometimes randomly have the car kind of pop, and sometimes even throw them into the air. Well, guess what? That's a result of this system, right? So you have these extreme forces being propagated through the suspension system because it's just rapidly changing from one moment to the next. It's not smooth, it's spiky. So that's the old system. And I think we have another visualization here as well that shows, yeah, thank you, the Bach mono in FM7, because I'm going to do a direct comparison between the Bach mono on Laguna Seca on this turn. And you can see how, yeah, right there, you get these real spikes in how the tire is moving up and down. It's really just not smooth. It's not recognizing some of these smaller collision changes over the curb. It's very, very spiky and violent. And this is slowed down dramatically from the actual speed. This is our physics designer actually driving at speed, and then we just slow the footage down to kind of give you this idea of just how how violent and snappy kind of the suspension is reacting based off of the single point of contact and at 60 hertz. So that's the older model. And one of the important points here is you'll actually see how the tires aren't even reacting to some of these curbs right now, right there. It's because a little secret with how FM7 curbs work, there's none of the actual collision geometry being recognized in the game. So the different sawtooth curbs, they're all flat, like in terms of collision in FM7. What we did was we added this kind of what we call the noise texture, if you will, within the physics system that would put undulations into the suspension. And it was all done because if we actually modeled the curbs, the car would just be completely upset every curve, right? So we knew this, and this is just how the state of our physics system and our tire model and, of course, our curves worked in FM7, right? So let's take a look at the new tire model. I think we have footage from that. So this is the same car, the Bach Mono, same corner on Laguna Seca, but it's got the new tire model. It's got the 8 points of contact. It's also got the 360 hertz refresh rate. And generally speaking here, you can see all of the different details, all of these different points seeking out the different collision changes, the changes in all the geometry here, how the tires are going over the sawtooth curbs here much more smoothly, right? They're finding all the grip. They're deforming as they're going over all the different surfaces. That's what you get with this new tire model. And as I just mentioned with FM7, none of those curves were actually collision-based modeled, right? They were all just flat. In the new game, all of the curves are actually scanned. They're actually modeled off of real life. The collision is actually the real, just as real as real life. So what you're getting is the honest collision geometry here, the honest physics. But you can also see just how much more grip and how much more smooth this new tire model handles this crazy uneven surface at speed. Once again, this is at speed, just really slowed down. So it's really difficult to get across just how massive a change it is going from the single point of contact at 60 hertz from FM7 to this model with the 8 points of contact at 360. You're seeing a little bit of it here. It's just much more smooth. It's tons more grip. And you know, when you actually get to play the game, you'll feel the change immediately. So yeah, it's a huge leap forward, and the game just feels great. And I can't wait for you all to feel it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see the huge difference there. I'm sure the community probably has so many questions about wet tires and vintage tires and like heat reactions, curbs, aerophysics, and all sorts, which are very valid.
Yeah, that's a great tee up here. Since we're talking about tires, let's talk more about tires. You know, we've talked already about how we've added new compounds in terms of the race tire into the game. We have the soft compounds, the medium compounds, the hard compounds. And we'll be looking at a little bit of that today when we actually get on the wheel. But, you know, the soft tires, they're more like a qualifying tire. They wear really quickly, but they also have incredible amounts of grip. The medium tires take a little bit longer to wear. And of course, the hard tires can last a lot longer. And the way we've tuned these different compounds is that I think that the softer compound usually lasts about 3 to 4 laps, depending on the track. And the mediums kind of in the 7 to 8 lap range. And then, of course, the hards are a lot longer. So that's just generally how those tires and the tire wear plays out for the race compounds. Now, we also have I mentioned at the top of this, we have the drag tire compound as well. And, of course, the street and sport compounds come back as well into this game. And of course, one of the other things is we have vintage tires and wet tires. So our vintage tires are for cars that are fairly old. Kind of imagine the Grand Prix Legend type of cigar cars with those bicycle tires. That's a specific type of tire that's still in the game. But also, yeah, you'd mentioned wet tires. Wet tires in the game as well. It's much more of a thing in terms of swapping tires out in our multiplayer experience because, you know, obviously pitting. In our campaign mode, it's a little less about pitting, but you will be using wet tires in the campaign mode. So yeah, once again, so we have street, sport, race tires with the 3 different compounds. We have vintage tires, we have drag tires, we have the wet tires. And that just covers all the different tire compounds we have in the game. The other thing to talk about is we've completely redone how the heat works on all the tires. And that's really about just smoothing this curve in terms of post grip. Like once you get to maximum grip and how it decays over once you're past that grip limit, there's a lot of things that affect that. And heat is a big proponent of this. So the grip fall off at extreme temperatures has, like, the entire heat curve has been changed for us for all of these different compounds. The most important thing is the fall off at extreme temperatures is much smoother. So I think in the previous tire model FM7, we would have kind of, you'd hit extreme heat and then you'd hit this real kind of cliff in terms of grip. And once again, it's just super spiky behavior, right? You've got grip, and then it's just gone. And now we have much more kind of smooth decay of grip over time. It's much more realistic. And it actually makes, if you overdriven the car, it makes catching the car a lot more easy. And of course, that means a lot more grip and a lot more drivability overall. But this also has implications for like our drifters in the community. You're no longer going to have, you get the extreme heat tires and it would fall off immediately, and you're kind of dealing with that spike in grip. It's much more catchable. It's much more understandable. It's smoother. I think you'll have a lot more joy in terms of finding where you are on the grip at extreme temperatures and be able to control the car there. So it's, I think we've made a lot of improvements there for everyone, in fact. And then of course, there's all sorts of things that are affecting tire wear. One of the biggest things that we had just made a change with in the last couple months is just basically how much tire wear is being affected by heat. Obviously it's all authentically modeled. And we backed that off just a little bit to make sure that at extreme cases when you're really overdriving the car, and really put the car in a bad place, that there's still additional grip there and not overly super causing the tires to degrade over time really quickly. And that's all, we're still tuning that, but it all feels really, really good right now. So let's see, what other things can I mention around tires? I think that's the biggest things here. I think, just as another note in terms of catchability, drivability, since this isn't really a tire thing so much, but I do want to talk about throttle lift oversteer. It's one of my bugaboos. It's one of the things that I really wanted to make sure we got better, or quote unquote right, this time around. I was always unhappy with certain behaviors in FM7. This was one of them. And lifting even the slightest mid-corner in FM7 would often cause just an incredible amount of throttle lift oversteer. And I thought it was just excessive. So we looked at that. And as a note, we've completely changed about how much torque is being applied as you're kind of lifting off the throttle. It's much more realistic, and wow, it's much more catchable. It's understandable. It's much more authentic. Anyway, sorry, just a little note. It wasn't really tires, but I figured since we were on the subject of drivability in tires and what that all means, I thought I'd throw that in there too.